Welcome into Dolphins Today. A lot to get to as far as injury news because, as you know, the Dolphins are across the pond. They're overseas for a marquee matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs, 6-2 against 6-2. First place in the AFC is on the line. So what's the latest with the injury report? Well, for that, we turn to Cameron Wolf, and he let us know via the Twitter sphere, the X app, whatever you want to call it. Let's dive in. Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel tells reporters in Germany that left tackle Teron Armstead 21-day practice window is open. He will practice today, and he's eligible to be activated off IR and play Sunday versus the Chiefs. We'll get to the other stuff in a moment here. Jevon Holland is out of concussion protocol, which is good news and good to go. Rob Hunt remains day-to-day. So thank you for that update, and huge news because Teron Armstead, yes, former All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, that guy can play when he's healthy. He's only been healthy for 2 games this year, and you see it reflected in the stats, only 78 snaps, but he has played really well. That Pro Football Focus grade at the bottom of the screen is for pass blocking, one of the best in the NFL, albeit a limited sample size of just 2 games, and really less than that because remember that second game he played in against Buffalo is when he left the game early with the injury. So the only full game he's played was against Denver. Just to give you a little breakdown of how Teron Armstead got to Miami, signed that 5-year deal worth $75 million and up to $87.5 million. So the Dolphins, look, they've invested in this guy. And why wouldn't they? The resume speaks for itself. I mentioned a 4-time Pro Bowler, and he was an All-Pro in 2018, but he just hasn't been able to stay on the field, and it's so painful. It's painful to watch. I know it's painful for him as well. Earlier this preseason, he said he wants to play in every single game this year, something he has never done in his career, but obviously that did not happen. He started the season injured and is now on IR. But enough with the bad injury news. The good injury news, he practiced today, and that 21-day window to return is now activated. So let me know. You got to be honest here because Mike McDaniel has not ruled it out, and we saw in the tweet there is a chance he'll play on Sunday. But what do you think? If you're being honest, type Y for yes or N for no. Look, we show you this Dolphins offensive line depth chart often because it's constantly fluctuating. There's a lot of moving parts. And remember, the Dolphins have played over 20 guys on the offensive line. Teron Armstead right now is your go-to left tackle, but he's on IR. That 21-day window to return is now activated, and he is practicing. Also on the left side, Isaiah Wynn. He's on IR. Connor Williams remains day-to-day, as does Rob Hunt. We'll talk about both those guys. And really, Austin Jackson's been the only one that's been able to stay healthy. So a little bit more from Cameron Wolf, said head coach Mike McDaniel tells reporters in Germany, as I mentioned, the 21-day practice window is open for Teron Armstead, but let's talk a little bit about Rob Hunt. He's day-to-day, as is Connor Williams, so we'll dive into exactly what that means next. But first, got to give a shout-out to PrizePicks, proud presenting sponsor of today's show. And listen, PrizePicks, far and away, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. I love it. I use it all the time for Dolphins games, other NFL games. We got NFL on Thursday. Of course, Monday Night Football, I like to throw some PrizePicks out there, and it is the best way to play daily fantasy sports. It's really simple, too, which I love. So instead of being in any kind of big pool and competing against experts and trying to have those Excel spreadsheets where I'm going to calculate this. No. With PrizePicks, it's very simple. You pick more or less on a player's projected stat line. You don't have to hurt yourself trying to figure out exactly what the metrics are. No, more or less on a player's projected stat line. It's very simple. The app is really easy to use, which I love, and it makes watching the game that much more fun and exciting. So here's what we've got dialed up for this weekend for the Dolphins Chiefs in Germany. We're picking more for Tua Tagovailoa at 286.5 yards passing. Patrick Mahomes, he has struggled. So we're going to continue with that trend and pick less of the 295.5 yards projected of passing. And that's how it works. So now's the fun part. We get to sit back and watch our PrizePicks cash. That's what I'm talking about. And a few new wrinkles with PrizePicks. This is pretty cool. PrizePicks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. So for football and basketball games, let's say, for example, you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. So PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an insurance policy. You gotta love that. We always make it easy on you. We put the link in the description right now. So you can go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and set up your account. And because you're a Dolphins fan, because you subscribe to Dolphins Today, we've got a $100 deposit match waiting for you. You're welcome, by the way. prizepicks.com/CLNS. Most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Now, the latest with Connor Williams and Rob Hunt is very simple. They are day to day, and we're continuing to monitor that. Now, with the schedule change being of the time difference, I should say, practice was a little bit earlier today on Wednesday, and Connor Williams and Teron Armstead were actually practicing. So that's good news. We knew Teron Armstead was, and look at that picture. Look at the guys getting after it in Germany. But for Connor Williams also to practice, I think that's a step in the right direction. The Dolphins have been pretty transparent about Connor Williams, saying they just don't want him to damage the groin injury and prevent him from being ready to go even later on in the season. So, more from Joe Schad here, talking about Teron Armstead practicing. As for Connor Williams, he was helped by being held back. That's referring to last Sunday's game against the Patriots, and he will be back to practice this week. Meanwhile, Rob Hunt is day-to-day and will try to get into practice, but nothing today, maybe tomorrow. And some good news, Jevon Holland is out of concussion protocol. So that's really good news there. So let's play our Mike McDaniel's coaching depth chart right now. If Teron Armstead can go on Sunday, he's your starting left tackle. Lester Cotton will start at left guard. Hopefully Connor Williams can go at center. And the same can be said about Robert Hunt. Otherwise, Rob Jones, your right guard. And Austin Jackson remains at right tackle. So a lot has been made about the Dolphins' offensive line, and probably rightfully so. The 6 games the Dolphins have won, they've been excellent. The 2 games they've lost, not great. So I'm not putting it all on the offensive line, but I just want to get a feel from you from where you're at in terms of your confidence level. So let me know in the comments. Scale it for me, confidence level in the Dolphins' offensive line against Kansas City. Scale it 1 through 10. All right, the offensive line, it is what it is. It's a roller coaster. There's some good news today, some not so good news, and kind of some meh news right in the middle. But I've got some positive news for you, and that is Javon Holland is cleared and ready to go out of concussion protocol. He missed last Sunday's game against the Patriots with that concussion that he suffered against the Eagles in Sunday Night Football. But Jevon Holland is cleared and ready to go, and that is a huge boost for this Dolphins secondary. David Fiorenez there confirming it. Dolphins safety Jevon Holland has cleared concussion protocol, according to Mike McDaniel. And Joe Schad adds this for a little context, that Jevon Holland is interested in looking into watches at the antique shops in Germany. He's having the time of his life in Frankfurt. He said, quote, "I love this. It's like a free vacation." So you talk about a guy that's in a good headspace. He's cleared concussion protocol. He's on a free vacation in Germany and is a welcomed addition to the Dolphins secondary. Take a look at the stats there in 7 games played, 52 tackles, 3 pass breakups as well. So that's a guy that can help this Dolphins defense. And I don't put everything into Pro Football Focus at all, but I think when there's an outlier or something that really grabs your attention, it's worth noting. And Jevon Holland, the highest graded safety according to Pro Football Focus. That's impressive. You see it there in the bottom of your screen, 90.4 overall grade in the 7 games he's played. So it might not always show up on the stat sheet, and that's kind of part of Pro Football Focus's grading. You know, let me pick out what maybe you don't see in real time, really take that deep dive into the film. Make no mistake about it, Jevon Holland, a guy that helps this Dolphins secondary, and it will be great to see number 8 back in action on the field. So speaking of number 8, go ahead and show Jevon Holland some love in the comments. Spam those 8s. You got to show Jevon Holland some love. He's clear concussion protocol and will be back for Sunday's game against the Kansas City Chiefs. A huge boost to the Dolphins secondary. Show some love. Spam those 8s. All right, a little bit more injury news from one safety position to the other. Brandon Jones was playing in Jevon Holland's absence last Sunday and played a really good game. Make no mistake about it. But at the end of that game, late in the fourth quarter, he went up for that interception, and Juju Smith-Schuster for the Patriots delivered quite the hard hit. And if you were watching the game, remember, I wouldn't say the benches cleared, but there was a little bit of a scuffle afterwards. And unfortunately for Brandon Jones, he suffered a concussion on that play and is in concussion protocol and did not make the trip to Germany. So a little bit of a bummer there for Brandon Jones, but as I mentioned, he played really well on Sunday. Now, somebody that is injured and did still make the trip to Germany, this is awesome news in my opinion, because our best bud, our friend De'Von Achane, who took this league by storm early in the season, the rookie out of Texas A&M, is still on injured reserve. But folks, he made the trip to Germany with the team and is coming back to football activities, not necessarily participating in practice, but getting it closer and closer to resuming practice activities so that he can be ready to come off the IR after the bye week. So I think that's huge news, and I don't have to tell you how good he's been on the field, but the stats jump out. The 12.1 yards per carry is insane for him to have those numbers in only 4 games. Really impressive. The 5 touchdowns as well. De'Von Achane will be a welcomed addition to this Dolphins offense when he comes back. And based on him making the trip to Germany, I think that'll be sooner rather than later. So if you're like me and you're excited to see 28 back on the field, let me know. Type those 28s in the comments because, folks, De'Von Achane is trending towards coming back, and I can't wait. Let me see those 28s in the chat.